What's going on, everyone? Happy Friday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long COVID issues. It is time now for the Friday edition of the Pandemic Update for Friday, February 23rd, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily pandemic update on, yes, COVID and other viruses that can be a threat to your health. If you want to help keep yourself informed and help keep more people informed, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button down below, and share these videos with anyone you know. Because really, think about it. Where else can you get a daily news program that gives you 10 to 20 minutes coverage of all the viruses that are out there around the world? Not just COVID, but we're going to be talking about other viruses today as well, and in particularly, we're going to be talking about problems in schools. Starting off with schools, let's go to Iowa. Iowa is having problems. Forest City, among several schools to temporarily close due to, you guessed it, widespread illness. Then we have to come to the east. Let's come to my city, Philadelphia. Yeah, unfortunately, there's problems with that. 8 students at Richmond School potentially exposed to Mpox in Philadelphia School District. That's right. So down in the Port Richmond section of Philadelphia, there's a school called the Richmond School. Well, guess what? They're dealing with potentially some Mpox issues, and there could be up to 8 potential cases at this point. It's something we're going to have to continue to follow. It's something that could have been preventable if things were taken more seriously. I'll show you that in just a moment. Gabby Douglas to miss Winter Cup after testing positive for COVID. So Gabby Douglas, who is, an Olympic sports athlete, has tested positive for COVID. This is not good to see. Continuing on now, take a look at this. All right, South Australia. This is from Dennis, the COVID info guy. South Australia, COVID rips through school, staff rooms as hundreds call in sick. Yes, hundreds have called in sick. Almost 200 education department staff, including teachers, called in sick with COVID last week, and 168 reported testing positive over the past 7 days as the virus continues to take a toll on the workforce. This is ridiculous. We're talking about COVID in Australia. We're talking about Mpox in Philadelphia. We're talking about illness out in Iowa. And we know we've been reporting on several other places that are having issues as well. It's preventable, my friends. Mpox, you have to do some sanitizing plus clean air. COVID, the biggest thing, clean air, clean air. Let me show you here. You take the dirty air, you have HEPA purification. You take the dirty air, it goes through the HEPA purification, out comes cleaner air. When you have a large number of people in these small confined places, you have the potential for illness to spread. Especially right now, with COVID cases being highly elevated still in the United States. The larger the number of people you have in a small space, the higher the percent chances there are of you dealing with COVID outbreaks. HEPA purifier, guess what? Guess what they do? I have one directly behind me. Guess what it does? It takes in the dirty air, spits out cleaner air. Again, here's the HEPA air. Here's the HEPA purifier. This is actually what the purifier looks like. This is your HEPA right here. Air filter, okay? Here's all the dirty, infected air. COVID, other particles, bad air that we're breathing in. Let's face it, there's some bad air quality out there today. I'll show you that in a moment. It takes it, runs it through the filter. Out comes the fresh air. You replace the filter about once a month to keep clean air. And guess what? It actually works. There's something else we have to do at the same time. Masking. N95s. KN95s. I prefer N95 or better, but KN95 works too. Don't use those baggy surgicals. Don't use those flimsy cloth masks. That's no good. No cloth mask. You have to use N95 or better. Plus, clean air. It works. It would prevent all this illness. It would prevent teachers, students, staff workers from getting sick again and again and again. And not just in schools. It's good if we would do this in offices as well. You want people to come back to work in person? Give them the tools to keep it safe. Give them masking. Give them purified, clean air. Speaking of air, let's take a look at the air qualities across the United States. I have to refresh this. You're going to see it's not so great today for many locations. Look at this. From the Carolinas on up into the Northeast, back across some portions of the Great Lakes. Yeah, there's some bad air quality. It's better than what it was yesterday, but there is still some bad air quality to be had. The West Coast, not great either. It is fireplace season, but generally not good. And look at that. North Dakota, some bad air quality for you. And along the Florida Gulf Coast, some bad air quality, almost back into New Orleans as well. If you want to learn more about the weather and what's going on with the weather, I have a channel for that. It's at Climate Data Report. You'll see a link for that down below. Today we talked about record warmth in Texas and maybe severe thunderstorms next week across portions of the Kentucky and the midsections of the U.S. There will definitely be some severe thunderstorms next week. Yes, and maybe the potential for 90s in Texas. You heard me correctly. I know, it's winter. All right, taking a look at this. Philadelphia, 737 EMS incidents yesterday. A live looking at the burb shows it is fairly busy right. Wow. They're up to 16 calls right now in Montgomery County. And you can see multiple respiratory emergencies, and we're seeing other stuff. And take a look at Chester County. Yep, yet again here, although not as many as there were just a little bit ago. There are some respiratory emergencies. I'm seeing a call for a sick person, seeing heart problems. Yeah, it's a busy Friday. Taking a look now at the latest wastewater data. We're going to do a few sites today. I'm trying to add more wastewater sites in the daily pandemic update. That way we're not stuck with doing just nothing but wastewater on Sundays. In fact, slow news Sundays, we may start not doing some updates. I don't know. I think we'll continue to do updates on Sundays. You know, I'm always finding stuff that we have not seen before. I want to check in with Harrisburg. We looked at this the other day, and I want to show you this yet again. Look at this. Relatively concerning. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's the capital of Pennsylvania. It's Dauphin County. It's 125,000 population. Take a look at what's going on with COVID here. Look at the COVID wastewater. It is now higher than it was at any point during the holidays, and it is literally going straight upward. That is not good. RSV has dropped. Influenza, it's still there. A and B. Matter of fact, B is rising at this time, but yeah, that is concerning to see. And look at this. They fixed the Mpox issue. We're not seeing a case of Mpox being detected here. Remember yesterday in the video, we saw Mpox going bonkers? Well, not bonkers, but we saw a detection of it on the 12th on every wastewater site we clicked on. Maybe they fixed that data issue. Norovirus, it's rising in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. All right, let's do some more wastewater sites, shall we? Let's come down here to Atlanta, Georgia area. How about we come up here to Big Creek? This is Roswell area. Let's see what's going on there. COVID, it's high. It's actually slightly risen a little bit. Look at that. Flattened on the most recent update, but it continues to be high. RSV is dropping, but still high. Influenza A is high, but dropping. Influenza B is high, and wow, it's been rapidly rising since January 17th. And taking a look here, hepatitis, there is some detection, and no detection of Mpox today at that wastewater site. Let's come out to the west a little bit. Let's take a look and see what's going on in the Birmingham, Alabama area. In Birmingham, Alabama, COVID, it's high. New update, rising ever so slightly. RSV is low at this time. Influenza A is still high, but it's dropping. That could drop to moderate levels soon. Influenza B is now at low levels. Norovirus is high at this time, slightly rising on the most recent update. Hepatitis A, some detections of that at this time. Let's go out to the west a little bit. How about we come out, let's see here. How about we come out to Nebraska, shall we? Let's see what's going on in Lincoln, Nebraska area, shall we? Let's see, what is the size of this wastewater site? 240,000 population. Pretty big wastewater site. COVID, high, dropping slightly at this time. RSV is high and dropping. Influenza A is flat at this time. Influenza B, it's rising ever so slightly, and it's still high. Norovirus is rising ever so slightly, kind of flattened out, actually. It was rising and flattened out, yeah. And taking a look here at hepatitis A, there have been some detections of that. Let's go out to the West Coast real quickly. Just going to do one wastewater site out there because it is Friday. What does that mean for you? That means we do have some CDC data. Let's take a look at San Jose, California, and we will see what is going on there. Medium for COVID, medium for RSV. It says high for influenza, but look at this. That looks low to me, so we're not going to go by that high. And taking a look here at Mpox, no Mpox detections. Hepatitis A at this time. A lot of detections of that. And how about norovirus? Norovirus is in the medium category at this time. HMPV is high, and it is rising slightly at this time. All right, Walgreens this week. The positivity rate is 24.1%. That's down slightly from last week. Now taking a look at some new data. Some concerning data from the CDC. Check this out. Take a look here. You can see Virginia, wastewater, very high. North Carolina, very high. Georgia, very high. Alabama, very high. Louisiana, very high. Tennessee, also coming in at very high levels. And Vermont for wastewater, this is for COVID now, is also coming in with very high levels. Not good to see. Texas, very high. The majority of the South at this time is very high, with exceptions to Mississippi and moderate in Arkansas as well. And West Coast, California is moderate. Washington is high. So, yeah, it's still high in a lot of areas, which is really not good to see whatsoever. COVID deaths in the past week, I do have to refresh this to make sure it's up to date. And we can see there are still some places that are seeing rising COVID deaths once again. Kentucky, COVID deaths are going up. Oklahoma, COVID deaths are going up. And the rest of the country is rising ever so slightly to dropping ever so slightly. Not seeing any big decreases. In fact, look at this. Looks to me like Georgia has risen a little bit. South Carolina has rose a little bit, dropping in North Carolina, Tennessee dropping at this time, and wow, look at this. Even in Mississippi, you can see here, they are rising for COVID deaths at this time. Not good to see. More CDC data. Good CDC data. COVID hospital admissions, 18,977. That is down 5.7%. But you can see when we look here, there are some oranges on this map, which does indicate counties with rising hospital admissions. Center County, Pennsylvania, your hospital admissions are up this week, and that's not good. There is something I should tell you about Center County, Pennsylvania. That's where Pennsylvania, PSU, Penn State University is. Some bad news from there. This weekend is going to be State Patty's Day. Well, it falls in State College. It's Penn State University is in State College. State Patty's Day, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. They're going to observe it, I believe, this weekend. It's a pretty big event. It's basically a drinking fest, and it will lead to COVID cases. So it's something that you should know about, and we'll be able to follow that in wastewater. We'll see if wastewater actually starts to rise there. They also just had Thon last week, where they raised money for cancer. It's a fantastic thing. They rose millions of dollars. It's a really great thing. I hope it did not lead to COVID cases. They go into Bryce Jordan Center. They have a huge ordeal. It's a fantastic cause, but I hope it wasn't a super spreader, because the Bryce Jordan Center was packed with people. All right, epidemic status for COVID. It's still growing in some states. Georgia, it's likely growing. It is growing for certain in Alabama, Tennessee, Illinois, Kansas, likely growing in Kentucky, and even likely growing in Montana. Yes, still at this point in time. Everywhere else is either stable, uncertain, likely declining, or declining. And look at this. Good to see declining in Louisiana. New Orleans, they had Mardi Gras recently. So that is some good news. And let's come down here to flu status. And flu is likely growing in several places. It's likely growing in the great state of Maine, Massachusetts, New York, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Nebraska, and even in Arizona. And it is definitely growing in West Virginia and New Jersey at this time. So that's not good to see. Declining or likely declining in much of the South, the Pacific Northwest, and West Coast. And everywhere else in between is stable or uncertain at this time. JN.1 is the leading variant at 96.4%. We'll get a new variant update again next week. All right, drum roll, please. I have to refresh this. I think I already did, but let's check anyhow. Here's this week's flu update. Very high levels in Ohio. Very high levels in District of Columbia. How about New York City? Yep, still very high levels in New York City as well. And you can see that there's also very high levels across portions of Oklahoma, Arkansas, even across portions of Wyoming, and very high in New Mexico as well. Then you come down to high levels. A ton of places are still high. Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, portions of Nebraska, Iowa, North Dakota, and Massachusetts are still high. There's other states that are still high as well, just the shade lower. That would be Indiana, Kentucky, and portions of Virginia. Then you have other states that are also still high, just a lower shade. Once again, Alabama, Colorado, and Idaho. Then you have a whole bunch of places that are still in the moderate category, and some places that are even minimal. And moderate category would also include Alaska. All right, taking a look at New Jersey today. 589 hospitalizations, 68 out of 70 hospitals reported. 30 people are on a ventilator in the ICU at this time. 79 discharges. 102 discharges at this time. And taking a look at New York State, they did have a slight increase in cases today. It is 1,562 cases. And taking a look at yesterday's hospital, or today's update for hospitalizations, it continues to drop in New York State. That's a good thing. It's now down to 1,313. In the ICU is at 167. If they continue at this rate within the next week or the week following, they could drop below 1,000 COVID hospitalizations. That would be a big milestone in this winter wave. We have not seen an update out of California yet. I promise I will try and get that to you tomorrow in the Saturday edition of the Pandemic Update. That does it for the Friday edition of the Pandemic Update. I think we learned and went over a lot of different things today. If you found this to be helpful or informative, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. If you want to help see others see this content, share this on all of your platforms that you talk about, or share this with anyone you know. If you want to help the channel, there's ways to do that down below. I will see you guys again tomorrow, and again probably on Sunday as well. We'll see. If it's a slow news day, maybe we'll give the Pandemic Update a day off, but I doubt it will be. I'm sure we'll find something. So I will see you all again tomorrow. Until I see you again tomorrow, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic weekend. Thanks for watching.